The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Here's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove Football Show. The Green Bay Packers land Micah Parsons. Of course, we have to talk about that. And college football. Week 1 is upon us. We got our picks and a little bit more. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove Football Show. Welcome in to an all-new edition of the Sports Stove Football Show on the Belly Up Sports Network, presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com. Use the promo code STOVE15. That's STOVE15. You're going to get 15% off your purchase. Well, we had a plan for this show, and it changed drastically over the last hour or so, as we had planned to just focus all in on college football. And what a weekend is it going to be for college football. But first, we have brought on the minority owner of the Green Bay Packers. My dad, Dale Stover, is with us every week because he is the one responsible for this. He called Ed Policy and said, "You need to get Goody on this." And boy, did they listen to him.
That's it.
Dad, we come in today. It's been a long time since Packer fans have been this excited about an acquisition. There's controversy over the Jordan Love pick, but not everybody was happy about it. The Matthew Golden pick this year, generally speaking, everyone was happy, but this acquisition of Micah Parsons is the biggest acquisition the Packers have had since Reggie White. And I have to say, Bears fans are not happy. Cowboys fans are not happy, but Packer fans are happy. Dad, welcome to the show again, and let's hear it. Your thoughts on the Micah Parsons acquisition for Green Bay.
Well, like you said, this is the biggest thing that's happened in a while. And it's really, really amazing because I think the Packers were headed in the right direction. There's been a lot of positive things. There's been some injuries here in the preseason. But overall, Packer fans, I think, were fairly positive going in. Some didn't know how far we would get this year. But then when the Micah Parsons thing came up, everybody was like, wow, this could really turn the corner. And of course, people tried to keep it under control, saying, this probably isn't going to happen. Jerry Jones is not going to trade this. Well, we all know Jerry Jones is capable of doing just about anything. And I would assume Cowboy fans are just at the end of their rope tonight as far as, this is concerned. But Micah Parsons, fits ideally now with the Packers. He would fit with a lot of teams. Definitely, I think with Hafley as defensive coordinator, with the other pieces they have, I think, you talk about, the Packers like to have draft choices and build people, but you talk about 2 first-round draft choices, and especially where probably the Packers are going to pick, you're not going to draft Micah Parsons in the next 2 years. So, and he's 26, and I think, he's going to come in with a great attitude. And, again, he'll experience Packer fans. He'll experience the coaching staff. And I think it'll fit together very, very well. We'll probably talk in a minute about Kenny Clark. That's a little bit of a fallout from there. But honestly, everything you heard, Kenny Clark was he was going to be a casualty next year, a financial casualty. There was no doubt about it. So, but great guy, great Packer. But yeah, I mean, the expectations is going to be through the roof. I'm sure NBC is as excited as they can be about week 4 Sunday night football.
Right.
Micah Parsons back in Dallas. And I think he'll probably be well received there by the fans, so that'll be interesting too.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, it depends on what he says in his opening press conference and all that kind of stuff, of whether or not he'll be well received. But I look at this and I go, okay, Green Bay was already, at least a contender in the division with the Lions, and in most people's eyes. They were already an expected playoff team with a lot of potential, still the youngest team in the NFL. And so a lot of potential and a lot of upside, but question marks, right? You've got some injuries. You've got the Jordan Love thumb injury that it's not a non-throwing hand, but still, you got that issue going on. You've got some issues. Nate Hobbs is injured. Jaden Reed's injured. There's enough injuries in place that there was a little question mark around Green Bay. When I saw the first, rumors of this, it was never from credible sources. And so you're kind of going, as a Packer fan, you're going, I'm not going to get my hopes up on this, but this was the year to do it because you've got the new guy in Ed Policy. You've got this desire to make a splash and things to happen around the program. And you've got a team that's so close to being where they need to be, but so young at the same time. And so a massive trade for Green Bay. It does make them, I think, favorites in the NFC North. I know there will still be people who say the Lions, but I already had them personally winning the North. Now I think everyone should agree with me that they're the best team in the North if healthy. And so you run all this through as well. And to acquire him for 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark. Now, losing Kenny Clark, it's a big deal. He's a really good player, a 3-time All-Star, but he's also a defensive tackle. I received a text message from our Dallas Cowboys insider, and he said, boy, you must be hurting losing Kenny Clark. And he was saying this facetiously, but, I said, yeah, to lose a highly paid defensive tackle, not named Aaron Donald, really isn't that big of a deal. I mean, Kenny Clark was good, but the position he plays in this defense, you can afford to lose an all-star at that position, in my opinion, especially if you're replacing him with an all-pro, barring injury, all-time great in Micah Parsons now on the end. And one Dallas Cowboy fan said, well, if I've seen it in Dallas, all you have to do is double team them and it takes them out of the game. And my response is, well, you could double team them in Dallas because they didn't have anyone on the other side. Here in Green Bay, you've got Rashawn Gary on the other side of the field. So if you double team Micah Parsons, you've got Gary who's going to get double-digit sacks. And if you double team Gary, you've got Parsons who's going to get double-digit sacks. So the defense around him, Dan, Rashawn Gary, you've got some young guys that no one else will care about, but they played some good snaps in the past, and Brenton Cox. And Lucas Van Ness, I don't care about. He's not that great. Hopefully this helps him. You think he'll kick inside, but again, unless you're a diehard Packer fan, you don't care. Enigbari's had some good moments out there too. So you've got that. On the inside now, you've got Devontae Wyatt, first-round draft pick in 22 out of Georgia. Now you've got Carl Brooks, who was a 6th-round pick but has played well. And they kept 2 rookies this year, Nazir Stackhouse and Warren Brinson as well. So you've got those guys, Colby Wooten. None of them are all-stars. Devontae Wyatt could be. None of the other ones are all-stars. That's just not going to be what they are. But they're good enough. They're good enough to play on that defensive line. Then you talk about you don't lose Rashawn Gary. You don't lose Edgerrin Cooper. You don't lose Quay Walker. You don't lose any of your starting defensive backs. You only lost one player, and you replaced them with a great player. You said it about the first-round picks, and I want to look at that for a moment, because if you're Dallas, you have 2 first-round draft picks next year and 2 the following year. And if it's done correctly, you can rebuild this team fairly quickly because there are guys to get in these next 2 drafts that can help. Are they Micah Parsons? Not a chance. But there is opportunity. So I look at that real quick for Dallas. You're picking down there, I would assume, in the teens in your own pick, and in the late 20s with Green Bay's pick, somewhere in that range. And so when you look at it, they can maybe in their first pick, maybe they go get their running back and Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame. Maybe they go for a defensive back and like a Jermod McCoy from Tennessee or an Avion Terrell from Clemson. Maybe they choose to go linebacker with an Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas. There are options. When it comes to the edge to getting someone to replace Micah Parsons, well, you've got guys like Mikhail Kamara from Indiana. You've got Sonny Styles from Ohio State, Keldrick Falk from Auburn. There are going to be guys available down there in the lower rounds that are going to be good edge rushers, not Micah Parsons. So, Dad, I'm with you. These first-round picks, no matter who Green Bay selected with them, they're not going to be Micah Parsons. And I don't think that losing 2 first-round draft picks is painful at all for Green Bay. And as a matter of fact, I absolutely love the move. I have zero complaints about the move. And I just think that the fact that I drafted the Packers defense in both fantasy drafts we've done, and I did this before the trade, I'm sitting pretty in fantasy as well. So all the way around, I'm a very happy fella tonight. And I think all of Green Bay is as well. So definitely a win. You talk about the Cowboys, though, Dad. Your thoughts on them. Kenny Clark, the Cowboys insider that texted me said, well, maybe now we can stop the run, except for no team will have to run against us because we don't have a pass rush. So, but Kenny Clark comes in, obviously a good player, 9-year veteran in the league, 3-time Pro Bowler. But those first-round draft picks will be helpful, not for this year. So I don't know how much of an impact does this make, in your opinion, on Dallas for this season?
Well, yeah, for this year, I think, it's more negative than positive because of losing Parsons. Parsons was a guy that, you had to deal with. And Kenny Clark, I don't know who all they have on the defensive line. He will probably be an upgrade, no doubt about it there. Yes. But he, again, the person, I love Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark was getting older. Kenny Clark had not, had as good a year the last couple of years. Now, he was injured somewhat last year and was better this year. He's a great leader, a great locker room guy. He was a great mentor for the young guys in Green Bay. So I'm not surprised, I guess, when Dallas said we need a player, that you pick Kenny Clark. I'm sure they could have picked a couple others, but you're not going to get rid of Xavier McKinney, and you're not going to get rid of Edgerrin Cooper at this point. So I don't see how this helps Dallas this year at all. The 2 first-round draft picks, will this help them? I read already where they compared this to the Herschel Walker trade. Yeah. They traded Herschel Walker, then they picked up a bunch of guys, and then they won Super Bowls. But they picked up a lot more from Minnesota than they picked up from Green Bay on this one, I think.
But what about wins and losses?
We will see how things end up with Dallas. I'm sure the new coach is just not overjoyed about this, but we will. But, I'm sure everybody will say the right thing.
Well, what happens wins and losses? How many losses more does this put onto Dallas, or versus? Because I don't see it impacting their win-loss total drastically. Like maybe they lose a game or 2 more, possibly. I don't think it puts Dallas to the bottom of the division by this trade. I think they're still above New York. So I mean, it hurts, but does it hurt tremendously for this season? I don't know that it does. Am I crazy?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it will really hurt within the division. Again, they're
Sure.
better than the Giants, but now they're going to have a hard time not getting swept probably by the Eagles and the Commanders. And we'll see how it affects the team.
Sure.
Do they rally with this? Who do they have in leadership? Um, you know, how's their defense?
Well,
Their defense was kind of weak anyhow, if I remember right.
yeah.
So, this is definitely not gonna help that.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about a normal team, then this is crushing in the locker room. But this is not a normal team. Dallas is used to weird things. The locker room all knows at any moment chaos can ensue. So when you have great leadership like George Pickens in the locker room, I don't know what you're concerned about. On the defensive line, you've got Kenny Clark now, Osa Odigizua, Mozzie Smith, Solomon Thomas. Of course, they drafted Donovan Azaraku, the edge rusher, this year as well. Dante Fowler is there still also. So, yeah, they obviously don't get better, I don't think, in this trade, but I also don't think they get drastically worse. If I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm not happy. But, leadership-wise, you still got the Tyler Smith and the Dak Prescott on the offensive side of the ball. You've got, I don't know if you have any great leaders on defense. Malik Hooker over there, maybe. Dante Fowler now has been around for a bit. Kenneth Murray over there too. So, yeah, it's going to hurt, but I don't know that it changes this season drastically for Dallas. It definitely does not help them get better this season, but I don't know that it hurts them as much as some people are making it out to be. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, when you look at this team this year, if I go back, I'm going to run back real quick and look at, do I not have that up anymore? Yeah, I do. Okay. So when we went through Dallas, we did them early on. Let's see here. 7.5 wins. I mean, can they still get to 8 wins? I would say yes. I don't think that that's a huge thing. Now, can they make the playoffs? Can they win the Super Bowl? That's where you start asking the questions, I suppose. But I don't know that it drops them drastically. But I think it helps Green Bay, and that's all I really care about as a Packer fan is that Green Bay is better today than they were yesterday, and they are better today than they were yesterday. All right, Dad, that's it for that conversation. We did plan on talking a whole lot of college football today, and so that's what we're going to talk about the rest of the way. I do want to remind people about our sponsor, Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com. Use the promo code STOVE15. You're going to get 15% off your purchase, and I encourage you to try the bootleg and barbecue. It is my favorite flavor, so enjoy if you have not yet done so. All right, Dad, week 1 of the college football season is upon us, and I will admit last week it was nice to have college football on, but I'm ready for this week more so than I was last week. The games were on. They weren't great, in my opinion, last week. The Ireland game was close, but it also wasn't, good football, in my opinion. But this week, we have a loaded slate of college football games that are going to be phenomenal. So here's what we're going to do this year. For college football, we are going to pick 5 games every single week. We're going to put them on the show for you guys. We're going to put them on social media. You can play along if you want to. You can drop in the comments your picks for the games that we've selected to pick. And then what we'll do is we'll keep track of who does the best in these things. And we're going to try to get a team from every conference, every major 4 conference, big 4 conferences. And then we're going to have a 5th team that is from just a wild card kind of game as well. So let's talk about these games first, and then we'll talk about the rest of the slate. And so obviously one of the most anticipated games in college football history in week 1 of a season is the defending national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes, opening up at home against the chosen one, Arch Manning, at Texas. So Texas traveling to Ohio State. Ohio State is the favorite in this game. They are a 2.5 point favorite in this game. And, Dad, it's such anticipation. It's a noon kickoff. Actually, some people have it now down to 1.5. Ohio State's still the favorite, though, in this game right now. Dad, I tell you what, I'm really looking forward to this football game. I think it's going to be fun. I'm intrigued to get your thoughts, though, on Ohio State hosting Texas in week 1.
Yeah, Ohio State has kind of taken that posture. In other words, why would they be playing Texas in week 1? They want to, they're all about, playing good teams and being the best from there. So, it's a great game for college football. But again, for both those teams to be playing each other week 1, that's kind of what you want to see. Are we going to keep seeing that in college football? I don't know, because the conferences are, making everybody play 9 conference games. So I don't know that we will, but for college football, this is great for, both Texas and Ohio State. Everybody's going to want to see Arch Manning. They've heard about him. People that follow football like us know a lot more about him, but a lot of people just know the name. And so this will be their chance to see him, Ohio State, their chance to say, hey, we're a number 1 team. And, it'll be quite the football game.
I find it odd that the number 1 team in the preseason poll, Texas, is the underdog in week 1. It just seems really odd to me. But this game is an important game for both teams. And the day and age we live in, the loss won't kill the team that loses, but it's an important game. Arch Manning does have some experience. He started 2 games last season. He played in a few more than that. Ohio State, they've got some incredible talent, but they're playing a new quarterback, a kid who's never played in college yet, Julian Sayin. And so to open your career in a game like this is wild, I think. And even though it's at Ohio State, Dad, I'm just in on Texas this year. I believe in him. I believe in Arch Manning. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season this year. He's going to have his bumps. The SEC is going to be brutal for Texas. There are going to be some really hard games, but ultimately I'm leaning towards even though it's not a ton of experience, the experience that Arch has over the inexperience of Julian Sayin, because if Texas can get up early, I mean, it's going to go against the young quarterback in Julian Sayin. So I'm picking Texas in this game, even though they're at Ohio State. Who are you picking in this game, Dad?
Well, I'm all for Arch Manning, but I'm going to pick Ohio State. They're at home. And again, I think same thing you said, if they can get up early, if their defense can hold Texas the first couple series, then that's going to be a big, big deal. And
Sure.
they've got a great safety. That guy is phenomenal.
Yeah, Caleb Downs.
Yeah. And they always have great players. So does Texas. I mean, both these teams are loaded. They can both get the talent, and they do. So being at home at Ohio State with everything on the line, I think I'll go with them.
Okay. Very good. If you're listening, drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think is going to win Texas at Ohio State this week? Dad, game number 2 that we're picking is Alabama, and they are traveling to Tallahassee and the new look Florida State Seminoles. And by new look, I just mean new quarterback, new offensive coordinator. Everything else is probably the same. A 13.5 point underdog. Florida State is at home. And I don't believe in Alabama the same way some people do. I don't think they're the national champions this year, and I think they could even miss the playoffs with 3 losses this season as well. But against Florida State, even at Florida State, I'm going to Alabama in this one. They are a good team. New quarterback in Ty Simpson. Florida State has the experience at quarterback, but I think Alabama is just the better team still at this point. So I'm going to go Alabama over Florida State. Who do you pick in this game?
Yeah, I would agree. I go with Alabama. I think talent-wise, I mean, they're not getting everybody now like they did a couple years ago, but they're not devoid of talent. I think the coach is good. I think they're going to rebound and really, really be good this year. Are they going to win the SEC? I don't think so. I mean, it's just so strong. But as far as Florida State has got to rebound this year. And opening with Alabama, even at home, I don't think is going to do the trick for them from there. So, again, I like Alabama's coach, and I think they'll right the ship in a lot of ways, and I think it'll start on Saturday.
Okay. For a lot of people that knock the SEC for playing poor opponents, they're having a hard time with that argument in week 1 of the NCAA season because 3 of the top SEC teams are on the road against 3 really good teams. So Texas at Ohio State, Alabama at Florida State. Our third game is LSU at Clemson. Clemson is now up to a 4.5-point favorite in this game. Number 4 in the preseason poll, LSU number 9 in the preseason poll. 2 experienced quarterbacks, Nussmeier in LSU and Klubnik in Clemson. Both of these guys will probably be first-round draft picks and maybe even top 10 draft picks in the upcoming NFL draft. You talk about a nighttime game on ABC, 2 Tigers matching up against each other, 2 experienced quarterbacks, 2 experienced coaches, 2 dynamic teams. This is the game I'm looking forward to the most in week number 1, LSU at Clemson. And, Dad, I want to get your thoughts on who you're going to pick and why LSU and Clemson.
Well, like you said, I think this might be the best game of the weekend here. 2 powerful teams. Clemson needs to rebound a little bit from last year, no doubt about it. But I think, we looked at them when we looked at the ACC, and you went through all the talent they have, all the guys on their team you have ranked, even looking at the draft and stuff next year. But, I mean, LSU, they have no problem getting players either. I don't know that, Kelly is the greatest fit there, but, I mean, he's got good players. And I think this is a big game. This is definitely a game that whoever loses is not going to be out of it. But I think at Death Valley or, at Clemson, and I will pick Clemson probably just because I'm for them a little bit more, like Dabo Swinney, like Tom Allen. And, but this could be a whale of a football game. And it's, whoever wins this is going to propel them, depending on how a couple of the other big games go.
Yeah, I think when you look at these teams, Clemson has 4 first-round draft picks on their team for next year. They've got a quarterback. They've got a cornerback. They've got 2 defensive linemen, a rusher, and a D tackle. They're all going to go in the first round, in my opinion. The cornerback, Terrell, may not, but I think he's going to have a great season and solidify that first-round grade. So at home, you say they need to rebound, and my philosophy in college football is there's no such thing as rebound because it's a completely different team. And even though Dabo doesn't bring in the transfers like everyone else does, last year does not matter. It is truly a new team with a new set of goals in front of them. And I think Clemson is the team to beat. I think they're the team to beat in college football this year. And I cannot pick against them in week number 1. So I am with you on this one. I am picking Clemson over LSU. I think LSU is good. I kind of think that after this game, there's a chance the way Clemson wins, there's a chance people will all of a sudden be way down on LSU, and that'll come back to bite them because LSU is going to be a really good football team. But I think Clemson is the team this year. I think they're better than Texas. I think they're better than Ohio State. I think they're better than LSU. I think they are the team to beat. And so I am picking Clemson to win this game also. And being at home surely helps. It's one of the only home teams that I've picked in this week. But I am going with Clemson in this game also. All right, let's go to game number 4, and that is the Utah Utes at UCLA. And UCLA is a 6-point underdog at home in this one, and I think that number is way too low. I think they should be double-digit underdogs in this game because Utah is a top 25 team, and UCLA, in my opinion, is not a top 25 team and is not going to have a successful season. It's not going to go well in UCLA. And let's just start off, by the way, saying that Nico, who transferred to UCLA because he didn't get paid the way he wanted to in Tennessee, couldn't even win the starting job at UCLA. So what an interesting year it's going to be there. I'm going Utah in this game, and I don't think they have any trouble winning this game personally. Dad, where do you go with Utah and UCLA?
Yeah, I was surprised, that the line was where it was. I think Utah has been a strong team for several years now. And when we did, looked at our conferences and everything, Utah's going to be a good team. Yep. No doubt about it. They're on the road, but, they've played at UCLA. They played out west there, is where they're at. So I don't see UCLA, being able to challenge them in this one.
Okay, so we both go Utah in this one. All right, then our 5th game this week, we're going to flush the Peay this week with Austin Peay at MTSU. I grew up in Murfreesboro, just down the road from MTSU. Dad was in Murfreesboro for many, many years. So it's a little bit of a homer pick, but they're going to crush Austin Peay. There is no line on this one as of this point, but Austin Peay, let's flush the Peay. I'm picking MTSU for our 5th wild card game of the week. Dad, who are you taking, MTSU or Austin Peay?
Well, yeah, I definitely will take MTSU. Not living there now for several years is a little harder to keep up with everything there. I think the new coach, though, is doing a good job. From there, as I did a little research on them, like you said, there's not a line there, but I saw a prediction where they would go 7-5, make a bowl game, be 5-3 in the conference. And so I think, again, teams like MTSU have really been hit by the portal and the NIL, but I think they've handled it as well as they could. They've got an experienced quarterback. This guy started, he was MVP of the bowl game as a freshman, and I think they've been able to improve size-wise, and they should be able to beat Austin Peay, which is just right up the road. Should be a good crowd there for that one. And that'll be good, too, for MTSU.
I agree. There's a game going on right now as we're doing this show. It's Thursday night. USF is taking care of business against Boise State. A lot of people had Boise State as that playoff team like they were last year. I have said no on that. I've picked Tulane. But USF is doing the job right now, up 31-7 in the 4th quarter. So that game going on right now. But Dad, I'm curious, is there another game or two that you are interested in, one that really has your attention coming into opening week here of the college football season?
Well, the obvious one is, Notre Dame and Miami. Yeah. That's going to be a good game also. Is Miami going to have the kind of year they've been expecting to have? Notre Dame's ranked higher. So, if Notre Dame wins, and again, Notre Dame doesn't always play the best teams. So beating a team like Miami is something they need to do. And if Miami can beat Notre Dame, even though it's at Miami, I believe, that would really, really be a help to them and the coach and everybody there. So I think, that's a game that's a good game to watch from there.
Yeah, I think, Miami, they got all their eggs in the Carson Beck basket, and I'm not in on that. I don't think he's the quarterback that's going to get them any better than Cam Ward did. I think they'll be worse than they were with Cam Ward. And at home is helpful, but Jeremiah Love, the people who don't know Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame, are going to know him after Sunday. He is going to be an incredibly important piece to this Notre Dame team this year. He's going to be a Heisman candidate. He's going to be the kind of guy that can pull a team over the top. They're going with a young quarterback and Lloyd Carr's grandson down there at Notre Dame. And, young, inexperienced, but he's a football kid. He's been around it his whole life. So I don't think the scene will be too big for him down here either. On the road is always a little bit scary, but at the end of the day, Notre Dame, they're 2.5-point favorites on the road anyhow. I think Notre Dame takes care of business there as well. I think if you want to look at some other games, there's not a ton of, there's no more like ranked versus ranked opponents or anything of that nature, but a few of them maybe you can keep an eye on along the way, kind of see how it turns out. I think Tennessee-Syracuse is interesting. I know we're Tennessee fans to a degree also, but new quarterback, kind of a rough offseason. By the way, Tennessee today flipped the number one receiver in the country from LSU over to them. They have been killing it on the recruiting trail this season as well. That doesn't impact the game for Saturday, but it's still a fun one. It's the Aflac kickoff game. Syracuse, new quarterback there also after a really good season. There's some positive vibes there in Syracuse. So Tennessee should win this game. They are 13.5-point favorites. But in the past, Tennessee has struggled in these games. They've gotten off to a slow start, and they've had some issues. Heupel's offense last year wasn't what it was supposed to be. So will it be that this year? I think that game is somewhat interesting just to kind of see maybe if we can learn about who Tennessee is going to be this year. I think that game could be kind of fun. And then, of course, Dad, the game that everyone has been anticipating, Louisville hosting Eastern Kentucky University. Watch out for the Colonels coming in and a massive upset in Louisville this week. Super stoked about EKU's season. My boy Jonathan Duff co-hosted with me last year on the Sports Stove Local Hour, graduated from EKU, long snapper. He tonight has launched his own show covering Eastern Kentucky University. So shout out to Jonathan Duff, Fourth Down Media Company. Check them out. Their show is live right now. I cannot believe he is going directly up against us. But outside of that, love Jonathan. He's going to do great. He's got players past and present on his show tonight. So make sure you check that out on YouTube. Fourth Down Media Company host Jonathan Duff. Excited for him as they preview EKU and Louisville. And Louisville win that game, but hopefully EKU can make it scary for him. Miles Burkett was a Wisconsin kid. He was in Wisconsin his freshman year, transferred out, and now ends up at EKU. They've got some dynamic playmakers. Marcus Cowwise, he's a superstar who will probably transfer after this season and go to a big university at wide receiver. Jeremiah Bailey, a defensive end, it's just an absolute monster. They've got some really good players at EKU, so they could scare Louisville this week as they're breaking in a new quarterback also. But nonetheless, there you go. Some games. Any other games, Dad, that you're intrigued by on the college football level?
Yeah, I mean, one thing to watch in week one is the teams that are supposed to win and supposed to win big, because if they don't, then there's questions. During the week, I listened a lot to a radio station up in Wisconsin to get information about the Packers, and they also cover the University of Wisconsin. Matter of fact, one of the hosts, Mark Tauscher, does their color for their broadcast there. And they're very, very nervous about the game tonight. with Miami of Ohio, because again, they're everybody's trying to be optimistic. Supposedly they have the hardest schedule in the country this year. They do have some tough games, and they're not very convincing. And they're even trying to explain, well, if they struggle a little bit tonight, don't write them off or whatever. So I'm kind of intrigued. And there's several teams like that. Illinois needs to win big. Teams that should win need to. So we can always keep an eye on that during week one.
Yeah, Wisconsin's an 18.5-point favorite. So, yeah, watch that one for sure. One more game for me is Nebraska at Cincinnati. I think Nebraska has real potential this year, but Cincinnati, they've got some professionals on their team. They got some guys. They got a defensive lineman and Corleone that is, in my opinion, top 3 defensive linemen that'll be in the draft next year. So we'll see if that comes true or not. But Dante Corleone, they've got, I think, a tight end as well that's going to be drafted next year. So Cincinnati's got some really good players. Nebraska is favorited on the road, 5.5-point favorite there. But that could be a really fun game. That's also an 8:00 kickoff tonight, 9:00 Eastern time kickoff, just like the Wisconsin and Miami of Ohio game is as well. We got a couple quarterback namings recently. Gio Lopez, the transfer, wins the job at North Carolina. Mac Johnson is injured, coming off an injury. Kind of felt like he was going to be the guy to beat out, but Gio Lopez got the job. Michigan's going with a true freshman. Their coach is suspended for a couple of games. How will that, impact Michigan's start? Their first game is against New Mexico, and they're 34.5-point favorites there. So probably not going to be an issue, but he is a true freshman. So I'll watch some of that game on Saturday. That'll be on Peacock and NBC. I'll be watching some of that game just to see what he looks like and to see how he does in his first season. All right, Dad, I think that's it for tonight. That's a good show right there. Micah Parsons is a Packer. We got college football tonight all the way through the weekend. And then we're talking about NFL games next week. It's absolutely craziness going on around here. So next week when we come back, we're recapping some college football stuff. We are previewing week 2 of the college football season with some picks. We are previewing week 1 of the NFL season with some picks there as well. We have so much to do and so little time. It's going to be an absolute blast. I'll remind you to visit our sponsors, Righteous Felon Jerky at righteousfelon.com. The promo code is STOVE15. It gets you 15% off your purchase each and every time. Well, he's Dale Stover. I'm Vince Stover. Thank you for tuning in to the Sports Stove Football Show. Follow us on social media at Sports Stove. Until next time, go Pack, go!